Hi everyone, welcome to Simple Concepts. I'm your educator Niyati Paul. Guys, this particular video is the part 2 of this topic regionalism, its dimensions, meanings and issues. अगर आपने पार्ट 1 नहीं देख लिया हो तो प्लीज गो एंड वॉच द पार्ट 1, अदरवाइज यू वोंट बी एबल टू अंडरस्टैंड द पार्ट 2 ऑफ दिस पर्टिकुलर टॉपिक. वहां पे हमने इन डिटेल एक्सप्लेन किया है डायमेंशंस, मीनिंग्स, पॉजिटिव इम्पैक्ट्स, नेगेटिव इम्पैक्ट्स ऑफ रीजनलिज्म. तो इस पर्टिकुलर क्लास में हम आगे आने वाले सब टॉपिक्स डिस्कस करेंगे. बिफोर वी एक्चुअली स्टार्ट अप विद द लेक्चर, लेट मी टेल यू ऑल, आपको इन सारे के सारे जो हम वीडियोस डिस्कस कर रहे हैं उनके आपको नोट्स मिलेंगे इन द पीडीएफ फॉर्म इफ यू ज्वाइन आवर टेलीग्राम ग्रुप. द लिंक ऑफ द ग्रुप is given in the description below. If you are unable to find our group, then just go to your telegram account. वहां पे सर्च बार में जाके just type simple concepts UPSC. There you will be able to find our group and then you can join the group. So having said that, let's start with our today's lecture. So guys, in our last class, in the last video, we had discussed the positive impacts of regionalism. So in this video, let us discuss the negative impacts of regionalism as well. So regionalism is often seen as a serious threat to development, progress and unity of a nation. It gives internal security challenges by the insurgent groups who propagate the feelings of regionalism against the mainstream polito-administrative setup of the country. So regionalism definitely impacts the politics as days of coalition government and alliances are taking place. So regional demands become national demands, policies are launched to satisfy regional demands and generally those are extended to all pockets of country. Hence, national policies are now dominated by regional demands. Example, MSP given to sugarcane, it was helpful for farmers in Maharashtra, but it was implemented across all states resulting agitations of farmers belonging to UP, Punjab and Haryana. So meanwhile, it sowed seeds of defection among ministers and targeting to corresponding ministers. So some regional leaders play politics of vote bank based on language, culture, and this is certainly against healthy democratic procedures. So this always leads to demand for separate state, and it has observed that after creating small states, only few political leaders could run efficient government, else alliances run government, which ultimately makes administration machinery very ineffective. So development plans are implemented unevenly, focusing on regions to which heavyweight leaders belongs are benefited. Hence, unrest is generated among the rest region. Law and order is distributed, agitations with massive violence takes place, and ultimately government is compelled to take harsh steps. Hence, wrong signals are emitted about government authorities. Now, speaking about regionalism, it also becomes a hurdle in international diplomacy. As in 2013, we saw how Tamil Nadu regional parties were against Prime Minister of India attending the Commonwealth head meetings, that is CHOGM in Sri Lanka. These actions have their direct implementation on relation of India with Sri Lanka or other countries of the forums, or in case of Mamata Banerjee was not agreeing to land boundary agreement and Teesta river water sharing when the leaders at central level were ready to do it. Regionalism induced violence disturbs the whole society, people are killed, students cannot attend the schools and colleges, tourism cannot be promoted, etc. Now this impact of development in human resources, governments need to deploy extra forces to control the situation, and it has direct implications on the economy of the nation. Now impacted societies remain aloof from the main street development, and then the regional variations and backwardness is clearly reflected. On the border front, it harms India's status in global arena and becomes hurdle in becoming global power or world leader. Other than the evolution of regionalism in India and its impact, it is also associated, as discussed, with nationalism and federalism. These two aspects are we'll be discussing them in our further slides. So, speaking about nationalism and regionalism, historians of modern India have highlighted how the growth in Indian nationalism against British colonialism since the 19th century also gave birth to intense awakening among various region-based linguistic nationalists for identity and self-determination, often in opposition to pan-Indian nationalism. The mobilized people from all over India, the leaders of mainstream nationalism, has to recognize and mobilize the local leaders. They had to reach out the people in local languages. The mass mobilization was only possible when people became aware about their regional needs and its importance. The mainstream Indian nationalism had continuously to grapple with regional nationalism. Under the heavy weight of regional identities of the people of India, Indian National Congress, that is INC, could have hardly remained immune from it. It gradually became, in fact, one of the international coalition of forces, and for that reason only, and the further strengthening of the people of nationalism, of the feeling of nationalism. So INC used to have their annual meetings in different regions of India, raising the consciousness of people against the colonial exploitation. Now let us now understand federalism and regionalism. So the role played by Indian federalism in ensuring India's unity, stability and survival as a polity in the face of persistent regionalism, often verging on separation, rooted in manifold and complex social and cultural diversity and mass poverty, illiteracy, extreme regional unevenness in development and widespread inequality. The question has assumed special significance in the aftermath of the disintegration of the multi-ethnic and multinational Soviet Union and the split of the Federal Republic of Yugoslavia. The need for federalism is enhanced in countries with ethnically distinct regions where the territorial accommodation of distinct groups of people is paramount importance. For those countries, a combination of shared rule for general purpose of unity and some kind of self-rule for regional local purpose of diversity is a must if unity and integrity are to be maintained. So Indian federalism is seen as a method of accommodation of regionalism in India. Federalism is seen here as a political equilibrium which results from the approximate balance between the shared rule and self-rule. So in the post-Second World War period, many post-colonial countries adopted federalism as a method of governance in multi-ethnic context. India's rich diversity sometimes looks like an obstacle to unity, according to me. But the latest election has proved that commitment to resolving differences peacefully and democratically can transform diversity into source of strength. India's federal reconciliation of regional identity with autonomy has a democratic aspect. Democracy rather than ethnicity is thus the legitimacy basis of such political institution. The federalism has given strong push by devoting powers as local level of states and their local bodies through 73rd and 74th Amendment Act. And according to Indian judiciary, federalism is basic structure of constitution as we have discussed in our last videos. The regions declared under the 5th and 6th schedule enjoy certain autonomy which gives them scope to maintain their own culture and develop according to their own need. This makes federal structure stronger. Other than this, any policy for such area different than the mainland policy, as in case of the provision of the Panchayats, extension to the Scheduled Areas Act 1996, popularly known as PESA. Let us now understand in short why diversity of India is a supreme guarantee of democracy. So diversity is undoubtedly strength of our democracy. Indians have so much to differ and divide themselves. But thread of democracy is common among different regions, communities, religions and cultures. India has seen many secessionist movements since independence, but none of them was too big to challenge a common resource pool huge democracy. If a particular community rises up against our democracy, it has to be a big enough issue, a big enough to challenge the whole nation. But no community is that big in India. For example, culture, language, social practices, etc. change every few miles in India. And that microculture is comprised of people from various sects and religions. So it is not possible that huge part of India find a common ground to fight against our democratic government. Now let us talk about regionalism in international arena. So in the introduction, we saw what does regionalism means in international sense. The use of common culture identities to define regions grew out of the process of decolonization, which was observed to lead the construction of cultural blocks. Now here I have given you all, which you can see on your screen, some of the important points with this aspect. So regionalism in international sense can be with respect to physical regions, refer to territorial, military and economic spaces controlled primarily by states and functional regions, which are defined by non-territorial factors such as culture and the market that are often the purview of non-state actors. During the Cold War, most regions were either political or mercantile clusters of neighboring countries that had a place in the larger international system. End of the Cold War had reduced the effects of global system on regional security dynamics and national decisions. Thus, an end to the bipolar cleavage has led to a restoration of regional sovereignty and to the establishment of several regional powers dominating their geographical areas. Changes in the international structure and new security challenges were expected to push the development of regionalism. So in the post-Cold War international systems, even though there has been an increasing demand for external intervention and crisis management for humanitarian and other political reasons, neither the United States nor any other major power has shown a willingness to shoulder the full responsibility for managing these regional crises. As a solution to this dilemma, countries go for the establishment of regional blocks to place a global hegemony. Currently, economists take the regions as institutionally granted. For example, the European Union, that is EU, North American Free Trade Agreement, that is NAFTA, and ASEAN, that is ASEAN, proposed Transatlantic Trade and Investment Partnership, TTIP, etc., to study changes in the shares of intra and inter-regional trade. So in the economic sphere, however, the situation is quite different. The process of globalization, although partial and variable in nature, is creating an increasingly autonomous economic reality that interacts directly with both national and regional economics. The formation of regions takes place at interface between global economics and technology forces and national realities. National actors may in fact pursue regionalism as a defense mechanism against the competitive pressure arising from globalization. With respect to the world, regionalism is often talked in two senses. First one is old regionalism and second one is new regionalism. Both have different meanings, which we'll be seeing in our further slides. Now here you can see on your screens, मैंने यहाँ पे दो आपको differences दिए हैं. We will compare both. This is basically the comparison between the two. However, in this particular slide, we will discuss about old regionalism. Then we will discuss about the new regionalism. Okay. So old regionalism was formed in the context of the bipolar Cold War. That time various regions of the world made an association with the two major power blocks of the world, that is USA and USSR. This regionalism was done on the basis of their security and economic concerns. This old pattern of hegemonic regionalism was of course most evident in the Europe before 1989, but at the height of the Cold War, dissembled in all the world regions. Old regionalism was created from above, often through the superpower intervention. It was inward oriented and protectionist in economic terms. It was also specific with regard to the objective, some organization being security oriented, other economically oriented. The old regionalism was concerned only with relations between the nation states. Now let us speak about the new regionalism. The new regionalism is taking shape in multipolar world order. The new regionalism and multipolarity are in fact two sides of the same coin. The new is more spontaneous process from within the regions, where the constituent states now experience the need for cooperation in order to tackle new global challenges. Regionalism is thus one way of coping with global transformation, since most states lack the capacity and means to manage and such tasks on the national level. Now, the new order which is there, it is often described as open, and it is thus compatible with an interdependent world economy. It is more comprehensive, multi-dimensional process. The process includes not only trade and economic development, but also environment, social polity and security, just to mention some imperatives pushing countries and communities towards cooperation within new types of regionalistic framework. The new regionalism forms a part of a global structural transformation in which non-state actors, many different types of institutions, organizations and movements are also active and operating at several levels of the global system. In the sum, the new regionalism includes economic, political, social and cultural aspects and goes far beyond free trade. Rather, the political ambition of establishing regional coherence and regional identity seems to be of primary importance. The new regionalism is linked to globalization, as it is seen as a reaction to selectiveness nature of globalization. So in future, new regionalism could be basis for multilateralism. So guys, now let us understand the impact of regionalism on the world. So regionalism is giving the strength to the regions which were earlier neglected, like Africa, South Asia and Southeast Asia. The consequences of regionalization are in terms of security and development. For example, SAARC, the Indian Ocean Rim Association for Regional Cooperation, which is also abbreviated as IORARC, and various other regional groups has been formed for the regional security and development with the cooperation of all member nations. It may offer solutions to development problems which in fact could be seen as a form of conflict prevention, since many of the internal conflicts are rooted in the development problems of different kinds. It helps the regions and the countries within achieving self-reliance with respect to their social development, economic needs and technological needs, etc. With the help of regionalism, economic policies may remain more stable and consistent, as it is in practice in European Union, though Eurozone crisis is learning for the member nation to create an environment for their predictable and stable economic environment. So regionalism gives collective bargaining on the end of the region could improve the economic position of marginalized countries in the world system. As in the case of WTO bail meet, developed countries were hell-bent on the trade facilitation agreement and were pressurizing for doing away of subsidies in developing countries. Then the South Asian countries like China and India resisted and projected their socio-economic conditions to continue with their present subsidy schemes to their farmers. Now, regionalism can reinforce societal viability by including social security issues and an element of redistribution. Now, ecological and political borders rarely coincide. few serious environmental problems could be solved within the framework of a nation state. For example, we can say conservation of biodiversity is closely monitored. Then poaching and trade of endangered species is easy to check with regional cooperation. So check on emission of greenhouse gases and global warming were under control but differentiated responsibilities. So diversity may make the success of regional organizations problematic. Sometimes ethnic clashes in some other countries of the region causes security challenges in neighboring countries and destabilizes the region as whole. For example, we can say fundamentalist approach by ISIS or Al-Qaeda or any other terrorist outfit of the region has serious implications in countries like Iran, Syria, Egypt, Pakistan, Afghanistan, etc. Even ethnic clashes in Myanmar, Pakistan, it disturbs the Indian society, as it is observed in case of violence in Assam due to clashes in Myanmar's Rakhine state. So the growing regionalism is seen as a threat to multilateral institutions like WTO, that is World Trade Organization, and its existence and the role is being questioned. The growing bilateralism, trilateralism blocs have serious implications on the effectivity of the WTO policies. In fact, I would say regional conflicts could be resolved with the help of the regionalism, and it eliminates distorted investment patterns since the security fund, that is the military expenditure, can be tapped for more productive use and can be peaceful dividend to the nation as well as to the regions, I would say. Now, if we want to conclude this topic, we can write as, and this is very important guys for your essays, so iski जो स्क्रीनशॉट है वो जरूर लीजिएगा या फिर पीपीटी ऑफ कोर्स यू विल गेट इट. So we have seen how regionalism could be good or bad for nation as well as to the group of nations. So Constitution of India under Article 19 gives every citizen a fundamental right to move around and settle down peacefully in any part of the country. And as citizens of India, everyone should respect this fundamental right of every person, avoiding clashes like Shiv Sena does in Maharashtra. So the need of the hour is to develop each region of India through devolution of power to local governments and empowering people for their participation in decision making. The governments at state level need to find out alternate resources of energy, source of employment for local people, use of technology in governance, planning and for agricultural development. The 12th five-year targets for faster, sustainable and more inclusive growth. I repeat it again. The 12th five-year years targets for faster, sustainable and more inclusive growth, which will be instrumental for balanced regional growth. The regional blocs like BRICS, that is BRICS or ASEAN, are developing more negotiation capabilities for economic needs of the region, for climate change negotiations, etc. The dependency on the World Bank, IMF for development projects is being complemented by the new commitments of the BRICS Bank, new development banks, etc. So in future we can say the further integration of the different regions will give every nation due respect and due importance to their needs. The exotic and unique things are getting exposure at international level and no one will feel left out. The world will be a global village, which we often hear this word, right? The world being a global village. So with the unique regions within. So guys, that's all for this particular class. If you like this video, do hit the like button. आपके अगर कोई valuable comments हैं तो do mention them in the comment section below. If you are new to this platform, do hit the subscribe button and press the bell icon so that you can get notified every time we are on YouTube. That's all for this class guys. Thank you so much and take care.